Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this Superfuse video, I want to talk to you about everything the game has to offer, so hopefully you can make an informed decision for yourself if this game is worth your time and money. I will have all the timestamps down below. Before we start the video, I want to let everyone know that Raw Fury did hook me up with a key for the game for free, and I'm not getting paid to make this video or anything like that. All I've gotten is the game for free, which I'm thankful for, so thanks for that. Well, one last thing before we jump into the video, let's go ahead and talk about today's video sponsor. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Looking for an easy way to eat well and save money this year? Cut back on expensive takeout and delivery, and get started with HelloFresh. You'll love how fast, easy, and affordable it is to whip up a restaurant-quality meal right in your own kitchen. We all want to save money this time of year, but did you know that HelloFresh helps you save money all year round? In fact, HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% cheaper than takeout. To try HelloFresh, just click the link below for 21 free meals plus free shipping and try HelloFresh today. One of our all-time favorite meals, and I think it was actually our first one, was the black bean and poblano flautas. They were actually really amazing and one of my all-time favorite meals from HelloFresh. Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this Superfuse video, I want to talk to you about what all the game has to offer and if I think this game is worth your time and money. I've had a couple people reach out and ask if I think the game is worth the $25 or not, so I want to go ahead and just show you everything the game does have to offer in its current state of early access. Superfuse is a superhero action RPG developed by Stitch Heads Entertainment and published by Raw Fury. This game is currently in early access, and it came out into early access on January 31st, 2023. Superfuse has quite a bit of content to offer in terms of skill customization and character builds. It is a little bit lacking in content if you're talking about the story content and endgame content, but don't worry, we'll cover all of it in the video. First up, I want to go ahead and talk about the classes that are offered in Superfuse. Currently, in the early access version of the game, there is 3 classes available to play. You have your Elementalist, which has the Fire Tree and Ice Tree. The third skill is not out yet. Keep in mind you can dual spec as well, but we'll probably talk about that a little bit later when we talk about character customization. The second class the game has to offer is the Berserker. There are 3 classes in the early access version. You have Brute Force, Combat, and Lightning. As of making this video, I do have a Brute Force video out, as well as a Lightning video out if you want to see kind of what all the skills are and how they all work if you're trying to decide what you want to play. I'm hoping to make more videos as well in the future, so make sure you subscribe for all of that as well. The third class that we have is the Technomancer. This is my personal favorite class, and this one currently has 2 builds available. First being your Metal, which I have a video out about this as well. This one's really fun. I really enjoyed playing this. I recommend checking out the video for that as well. And there's also a Minion build. I'm planning on checking this out in the future and making a video on that. The third skill tree is not out yet. You can also see there's a grayed out character here. I'm assuming this is going to be the 4th class, but yeah, as of now, this class is not out. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk about skill trees and how they all work. We're not going to break down every single skill in the game or anything like that, as much as I'd love to. Maybe that's a different video for a different day. In this one, I want to focus in on the skill tree and how you can customize your character. The current max character level in the game is level 30. Now you can notice your character level is separate from your skill tree level. So you can see right now I am a level 18 in the combat tree, and I could be higher, but the way that these trees work is you have to decide if you want to invest purely into the mastery level, or if you also want to spec into these passive nodes that you can see I've done here. Like right here, I've got 4, 5, 6 extra points. So I could be level 24 combat mastery if I would have taken those 6 passive points and invest them into the mastery level instead. But as you level your mastery up, you'll unlock benchmarks to unlock more passive trees or passive nodes to choose from. There's quite a bit here to customize, and this is really the same across all the characters. I like this system, however, it is kind of hard to decide where to spend all your points because you are pretty limited right now. You can get 33 points, 30 by leveling, and then you get 3 extra from the storyline. So with 33 points, you're a little bit limited. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, you can also dual spec. So you can see I have gone into Provoke here, and I use this in our multiplayer sessions so that I can taunt and hold some of the aggro. Though I'm thinking of respecking, I'm not sure yet. But it kind of opens up a lot in terms of skill trees and customization in that regard. Again, same setup for all the classes where it has this DNA type system. Before we go much further, we must talk about the most important thing and the bread and butter of Superfuse. It's literally in the game's name, Superfuse. That's right, we're going to talk about the fuse system. This is how you're actually going to customize your skills. So the skills that I was showing off on the DNA skill tree, you can actually go in and you can customize these by applying fuses to them. Let's go ahead and start with my skill that I fused up the most here, and this is Tornado. You can see each of these have fuses attached to it. When you very first unlock a skill, it's just going to look like this, and it's going to just have nothing on it. It's going to have a hex, honeycomb grid, hexagon grid. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's this, and you can come in here and you can add fuses to it. So over here on Tornado, you can see I have all my fuses set up, and this looks confusing, but it's really straightforward. You literally just take a fuse that you want to apply to your skill and you can rotate it and fit it in there. I haven't had any instances of where it's like, well, I can't get that to fit, so I can't use that or anything like that. It's not overly complex in that regard. Basically, if a skill has a tag on it, then you can use a fuse that has that same tag. So if you're looking at a fuse, you can see critical hit damage, for example, requires damaging. It has to have the damaging tag on the skill. This one happens to, it's the first one. Tornado's tags are damaging, area of effect, weapon skill, melee skill, and then I've actually added on these strikes, which is how I'm getting the fire, ice, and poison damage tags. You can see I've applied all of these here. But if I were to take that off, I can go ahead and show you if I take those off, those skill tags are gone. I think they added this in a new update with those types of tags. The other thing I want to point out here on the fuse system that adds another layer of funness to the game, in my opinion, is some of these fuses you can apply more than one of. For example, Crush. This is one of my all-time favorite fuses in the game. I've only found one version of it so far. But hitting an enemy can cause a shockwave, dealing full ability damage to nearby enemies. Now, I can have 3 of these on my skill here and fuse to my skill. You can see I did that. I have 3 fire strikes here, and they just add up, and it's just great to be able to have that option to apply that many and stack it up. Now, some fuses, on the other hand, you can only have 1 of. And here's an example of that dash. You can see it has a fuse limit here. It says 1 of 1. The last thing I want to point out here when it comes to fuses is I do have an RNG element, and adds to a reason to go out and farm multiple fuses. You can see right here on my crit chance, for example, this crit hit chance, I have 2% hit chance. It can roll a range of 2 to 8, so I got the absolute lowest roll on this one. However, over here we rolled a maximum roll of 8, so you can see you have a reason there to go out and farm those fuses and hope for better versions. Yeah, I love the fusing system, and when you're applying these fuses, you can go in here and you can see there's an on-star, on-hit, on-kill, and then just passive fuses as well. There's a lot to play around with and many, many, many options. I have, I think, over 20 hours in the game at the time of this video, and I plan to do well over 20 more hours just trying all the different combinations, all the skills and fuses. I want to go ahead and talk about combat very briefly. We're not going to go into great detail here, but the combat in Superfuse is pretty good. You can tell when you're playing, especially early on with some of your skills, they feel a little bit clunky. You can just tell they're not entirely polished out like they probably will be on a fully launched game. Remember, this is in early access. It's a smaller dev team, you know, all that stuff we hear all the time about these indie games. But in all honesty, compared to some other indie games out there, the combat's not that bad. And I personally enjoy it, and I find it fun and relaxing. On top of that, when you kill some of these monsters, the explosions are really rewarding and just adds to more of that feeling of that you're actually smashing these bugs and making the poison blow up and the blood splatter. Overall, the combat's not bad, definitely room for improvement. Now, I have played ranged and melee. I've played quite a few different classes and setups, and they're both equally as fun to me. I really just enjoying hacking and slashing my way through this game while discovering loot and fuses. That brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, and that is loot itemization. Of course, it's an action RPG. What would it be without loot? Your character has all these different gear slots. You can dual wield weapons. You could use a 2-hand weapon if you wanted to. You have 2 trinkets, a belt slot, knee pads, gloves, shoulders, helmet, chest, legs, and boots. On top of that, you also have 4 potion slots. These are health potions, mana potions. There's utility potions that give you armor, speed, things like that. And they also come in different qualities. You can see right here I have a small health booster. Later on, you can find a medium health booster. I think when you very first start out, the lowest quality, or whatever you want to call it, is a tiny booster. And those are what you sell. I think they actually sell them over on the vendor. So another way to increase, get more powerful, keep doing all that stuff that you would expect in a game like this. The hybrid boosters I don't use, or the utility boosters I don't use. I just use the health and mana ones. I know that they are reworking the other boosters, like your speed, your armor, to make them more exciting and hopefully more fun and useful. So that covers all the really big topics in Superfuse. We've talked about all the different classes, a little bit about the combat, the skill tree, the fuse system, and itemization, and how all that works. The one thing that I think you need to know about this game before you buy the game and before you pick it up is you need to be warned that the game is lacking in content, in my opinion. It took me about 2 hours to play through the early access version of the game. Here's all the levels you go through. I think there's 2 or 3 bosses. And I do have a full playthrough up here on the YouTube channel if you do want to just see what a playthrough looks like. The story is lacking, and it's not long at all, and you're going to complete it in a few hours, as I said. Once you complete the story mode, they do have an endgame system in called the Solar. It's a solar system, that's right. These are planets, actual like planets that we know about, right? Hey, look, there's Earth. You can zoom out. There's planets all the way out. The way that this endgame system works, and remember, this is just a very basic foundation for them to build upon. So they're calling it their contract system, and what it is there's just 4 contracts that are up. These maps do scale to your character level, but there are different difficulties with harder modifiers but more rewards. There's your risk versus reward. And that's really it. As you go into these maps, you do the objective, hunt for the boss, kill the elites, whatever the objective. Yeah, there's stop the elite squad. Whatever it is, you go in there, and it's just a map that you've done probably from the story. There are some bosses that'll show up in there as well that you've done in the story. And that's it. That's it for the end games. You just run these maps over and over. There's no, like, unlocking another mode. There's not varied game modes. This is the end game. This is all the end game is. So for me personally, I really enjoy this game. And the reason I have over 20 hours and I'm planning to play a lot more is I really just, for me, the end game is finding those really fun combinations that are just fun to blast through maps with. On top of that, the game does offer multiplayer, up to 4-player multiplayer as well. The multiplayer is a little bit tricky at first, but with a little bit of common sense, you can figure it out. It is a lobby-based game, so it's not like you can just matchmake with people. You have to actually go to the server list, and you could find, like, this person has a public game open right now. So they made this game. This is open. I could join if I want to. You can also set up private games, put your own name, password. You can set up your region. Right now, the loot type, the only option they have is free-for-all. So if you're playing with 3 other buddies, you're going to be fighting over loot. So hopefully they're kind of nice, and we'll share some of the loot that's for your build and stuff like that. And yeah, it goes up to 4 players. And then if your buddy has a game up and they've told you the name, you can join. Really, like I said, really basic. If you have common sense, I think you can figure that out. And it does work, and multiplayer is really fun. That's everything Superfuse has to offer. Now let's go ahead and talk about my opinion and if I think this game is worth your $25 or not. At the end of the day, Superfuse is lacking in its story content and endgame content. However, it does excel in its class diversity, its builds, and its fuse system is not entirely unique. We've seen it in other games, Undecember and things like that. But it is, to me, really fun, and it is worth every penny if you do decide to pick it up, in my opinion. I hope you found this video useful. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. You guys are awesome, and we will see you in the next video.